In this installment, we're going to be going over Monday Night Football Showdown slate between the Baltimore Ravens going up against the New Orleans Saints. Let's get into it. Hey! Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Chef D, and I'm here to give you the winning ingredients for your Monday Night Showdown slate between the Baltimore Ravens and the New Orleans Saints. But before I deep dive into this very intriguing matchup, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MetchNetsJetsD. Don't forget about the TikTok at Chef_D91. And don't forget about the Patreon if you want more DFS, betting, and fantasy football advice. All those links will be provided down below. The first thing we're going to get into before we get into the captains and the flex ops will be this injury report. Very significant in this game on Monday night between the Ravens and the New Orleans Saints. Looking at the Ravens side, there's a ton of problems. Listen here, the Ravens are down to like no offensive weapons, okay? Mark Andrews is doubtful. He's not going to play. Rashad Bateman is out for the rest of the year. We're looking at news on Gus Edwards. He's doubtful now. He's not going to play. So that brings it down back to Kenyon Drake and Justice Hill as the running backs. Any other injuries on that Ravens side? Jason Pierre-Paul is more of rest, so we'll see. Definitely stick to the news on Ronnie Stanley and Jason Pierre-Paul right before kickoff, okay? That could swing things as well, but they're missing big weapons. No Andrews, no Bateman, no Gus Bus. All right, on the Saints side of the ball, Mark Ingram's going to be out. That's fine. Alvin Kamara's fine, even though that video did come out. So we are waiting. Will the NFL react? That is going to be a question if this video continues to pop up with different angles, different views of what Alvin Kamara did in the offseason. All right, so definitely wait on that. Marshawn Lattimore is yet out again, but that's been fine. The Saints defense has been very solid despite the fact Marshawn Lattimore has been out for the past 3-4 weeks. All right, so now let's get into the captains. Captain number one that we are going to talk about in this matchup on Monday Night Football will be Lamar Jackson, because this man is literally a one-man wrecking crew. He's going to have to put his whole entire team on his back. Had a great performance against Tampa Bay, and we know how good Lamar Jackson is against the NFC, as a outstanding record of 13-3 against the NFC. So this is a game environment where he's on the road going against the Saints. Again, another NFC team where he can shine. So I'm liking Lamar Jackson, despite the fact he is without Mark Andrews, without Rashad Bateman, is because of the upside, not only with his arm, but with the rushing ability. Okay, we saw 9-43 last week, 10-59 the week before, and the week prior to that, we saw 7-77. But he did fumble the ball twice in that particular game. So we're getting rushing attempts from Lamar Jackson. That's a positive. The question mark will be how many passing attempts and how many yards, because the weapons are going to be at a minimal. Okay, but I do like Lamar Jackson as a captain play in this game. He's going to be relied upon heavily. All right. Next captain we're going to look at will be Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara has looked outstanding since being connected with Andy Dalton. At the beginning of the season, it was Jameis Winston. He was struggling, as you can see, 7.6 and 8.3. Since Andy Dalton has become the starting running back, he's averaging well over 25 fantasy points per game. So this little sample size here between week 8 and week 5, he is all with the juice. So we want to keep the hot hand going here with Alvin Kamara in a great matchup going against the Baltimore Ravens. If we're looking at fantasy points allowed to that running back position, the Ravens, I know they struggle against quarterbacks as well. Let's see about the running backs. Just a quick little look-see here. The Ravens are currently 15th and 22nd in the red zone, all right, allowing 80 rushing yards per game and 4.4 yards a carry, okay? So we're getting a dynamic back here in Alvin Kamara. He's going to be utilized in that rushing game, and he's going to be utilized in that passing game as well, where the Ravens struggle as well. So $11,400 paying top tier money for Alvin Kamara. I have no problem going with him there. So we got Lamar Jackson, we got Alvin Kamara. Andy Dalton is someone that we can consider at the captain position. We've seen some big upside games from Dalton against Arizona, where he went bonkers. Despite the fact he threw 3 interceptions, he threw for 4 touchdowns, even had some rushing attempts there, 4 for 21. He came through with 32 fantasy points in that game against Arizona. So there is the possible upside that Andy Dalton can just go crazy. So I like him as a captain option. If we're looking at fantasy points allowed to that quarterback position here, the Ravens should be bottom 5 in the league. Let's flip this around. And yes, the Ravens are bottom 7, 8 in the league here. 25th overall, 29th in the red zone, allowing 285 yards passing and 1.5 TDs per game. So Dalton's in a great spot in this particular matchup. Remember, no Mark Andrews. We're going to skip that. But we can go to Andy Dalton's favorite target, and that's Chris Olave. Rookie wide receiver Chris Olave has come onto the scene and has made his claim as the number 1 wide receiver. With Michael Thomas hampered yet again, Chris Olave is emerging as a stud in this NFL league. Okay, Chris Olave, it was between him and Garrett Wilson. Both of those guys are shining on their respective teams. So Chris Olave is a great option. He's going to see 10 to 14 to 15 targets per game. Target heavily. This is a great match with Andy Dalton and Chris Olave. I love that pair for your captain or your flex. Those 2 guys are going to be locks. All right, I just want to say that right now. Those 2 guys are definite locks for Monday. All right, we're going to continue to go down. Do we have any other captain plays that are going to be guys we're going to focus on? Kenyon Drake, I might move him down to a flex play. It's not a great matchup going against the New Orleans Saints rushing defense. If we're looking at fantasy points allowed to that running back position, let's double check that here. The Saints, I believe, are top 15. Yeah, they're 12th overall, 14th in the red zone, 94 yards total, 4.7 yards a carry. So they're going to have to be very consistent and repetitive with this rushing game with Kenyon Drake and Lamar Jackson going back and forth. But I prefer Drake as more of a flex play than a captain. All right, one other guy we can move on to at captain before we go over to the flex ops will be Devin Duvernay. Devin Duvernay can take any catch or any run straight to the house. We've seen it on multiple occasions so far this year. He's a very, very explosive special teamer. Now he's become more of a wide receiver in this offense since Rashad Bateman is now out. So Devin Duvernay came through with a touchdown last week on a rushing attempt, and he got you 16 fantasy points in that game. He had a decent outing against Cincinnati. We saw a string of touchdowns in the first couple weeks of the season against the Jets, where he had 2 touchdowns in that game. New England, he had a touchdown as well, and Miami had a touchdown as well. So Devin Duvernay, super, super explosive, has that upside. If you want to do a 2-off on the Ravens, definitely Devin Duvernay can be a guy that you're going to look towards. And then last but not least, for the captain position for these Baltimore Ravens will be Isaiah Likely. This is going to be one of my favorite players on this team. All right, it's going to be Lamar Jackson and Isaiah Likely. They're going to be 2 top-tier guys that we're going to focus on in our lineups at the captain spot. Isaiah Likely came through in the absence of Mark Andrews with 6 receptions, 7 targets, 77 yards, and a touchdown. They did not miss a beat with Isaiah Likely as the number 1 tight end in this offense. Rookie tight end, he had a great preseason, and it's rolling over now into the regular season, especially with Mark Andrews out. So the last captain play will be Isaiah Likely. He's going to be a lock as well. Let's move on to the flex ops. With the flex ops, the first guy we are going to look to in this Monday Night Football slate, let's continue to go down here, will be Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill becomes a big X factor. We already know how explosive he can be, okay? He can definitely be the sneaky captain guy in the Monday Night Football slate that breaks the whole entire tournament. So Taysom Hill has huge upside, as we've seen already against Arizona. 10 fantasy points in that game. They're using him in a multiple facets. They're using him in a passing game, using him in a rushing game. I love the creativity that I'm seeing from the New Orleans Saints with Taysom Hill. The big game from him was against Seattle, where he had 37 fantasy points in that game, mainly because of rushing, where he scored 3 touchdowns. So Taysom Hill has big upside. And in week 1, he came through with another touchdown on rushing attempts, 4 for 81 with a TD with 15 fantasy points in that one. So definitely do not forget about Taysom Hill in your flex options. I love him as one of my top tier flex options to frequently use in your lineup builds. As we continue to go down, let's see if we find any other gems. Demarcus Robinson is the number 2 wide receiver for the offense of the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to see if he's able to play. If he is, that's going to help the passing game going up against the New Orleans Saints. Saints have been solid against wide receivers, but they have been giving up a lot of yardage. All right, they shut down things in the red zone, but they have been giving up a lot of yardage. So if Robinson plays, definitely someone to be notified about in your lineup builds. Another guy we can look at, Jarvis Landry. He has a current Q tag. If he's able to play, because he was able to get limited participation in practice this week, this becomes the number 2 option in the offense for the New Orleans Saints. That's going to be a big boost because they haven't seen Jarvis Landry since week 4, and that's only going to help Chris Olave. Chris Olave is still the number 1 guy in this offense. Landry will become that number 2 wide receiver, so definitely wait on news about him. And that, if Landry plays, that will just simmer down Rashid Shaheed, who's been a very, very explosive player this season, similar to Devin Duvernay on the other side of the ball with the Ravens. Rashid Shaheed has been playing very well and getting big touchdowns. As you see, he had a 44-yard touchdown in week 6. He had a 53-yard touchdown in week 7, and he had a 30-yard catch in week 8. So each and every game, he's coming through with one big play, and that one big play could be a touchdown, and something that you definitely have to be notified about. All right. And before we continue on with more players, we got to talk about kickers and defenses. All right. So we have the Ravens defense. I'm not sure I'm loving them in this particular game. Dalton he could have a tendency of turning the ball over, but I think the Saints will have an easier time putting up points against the Ravens D than the Ravens offense putting up points against the Saints D at home. So I think I want to stay away from the Ravens D. I like the Saints D in this game because we have a Ravens team that is going to be limited with weapons, and they're going to be forced to utilize guys that are not common number 1 options. So that's the reason why I would be leaning towards them. Let's clear this out and see if we can find some more gems at the flex position. Marquez Callaway is a number 3 wide receiver. He's getting minimal targets, but someone you can consider if you don't have enough salary as a flex play. Juwan Johnson is the main tight end in the offense, all right? If you want to go away from the gadget guy in Taysom Hill, Juwan Johnson is the number 1 tight end in this offense here, the main tight end, okay? As you can see, he had a big game against Arizona, 5 for 32 with 2 TDs and 20 fantasy points. That was his big breakout game. It could be another one coming in this particular game on Monday, so we will see about that. Justin Tucker and Will Lutz will be plays. Both kickers are going to be plays in this particular game here. Let's see if we find any other gems down here. I don't want to go too far. I mean, you might have to go this far with the wide receivers. Prochet is the next guy in line. He'll be the number 3 wide receiver, but I like Devin Duvernay more, and I like Robinson more as well. But if Robinson out, then you could look towards James Prochet. So we'll throw him in there in the mix. We got Traquan Smith here as well. He got less targets in that week 8 game, but he's been getting a minimal amount of snaps as well alongside Chris Olave, but that's going to get muddled more if Jarvis Landry is back. So definitely you got to wait on news on Jarvis Landry before we continue with the other wide receivers in this offense. All right. And then we got positive news about Adam Troutman. All right. He does not carry an injury designation, so they're going to have all other tight ends healthy in this game. All right, so they're going to have Troutman, they're going to have Juwan Johnson, and they're going to have Taysom Hill, their gadget guy. So I might want to stay away from the tight ends other than Taysom Hill in this offense because they're going to have all their guys back, and you're going to be really flipping a coin between one and the other. If I'm looking for anyone below 1,800 from Adam Troutman, I'm going to stay away from these guys. I don't see anyone that can provide upside unless you're in a strange situation where you feel comfortable at captain at the other 4 flex positions and all you have left is $500. Fine. If you don't want to adjust anyone else, then go ahead and choose the cheaper guy below 1K. All right, we're going to clear these guys out, and we're going to put in the locks of this entire slate. The first one we're going to talk about will be Isaiah Likely. He's a definite to have in each and every one of your lineups. Number 2 will be Chris Olave here, the wide receiver, number 1 option on this offense. And number 3, I'm going to give you 4. Number 3 will be Alvin Kamara. Number 4 will be Lamar Jackson because he is a must. This is the only main top tier option on Baltimore. And then second will be Isaiah Likely. So we'll give you 2 Saints, 2 Baltimore Ravens that you need in each and every one of your lineups. I appreciate you guys for tuning in yet again. I love the support. I love the ratings, the views, the subscribers. Let's continue to build here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MetsNetJetsD. And don't forget about the TikTok as well, because I will be providing my pick for this game on Monday Night Football on TikTok. I'll be releasing out on Instagram and YouTube as well. So thank you guys for tuning in, and peace out.